Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name's TJ. Behind the camera is my buddy Liam, my nephew. The channel's called Outdoor with TJ. Kind of doing a little intro to fishing, I guess. I know that I've seen a ton of videos out there where they kind of tell you how people get started in fishing and stuff, and I kind of want to put my 2 cents in, because usually whenever you see those people, they have like tons of sponsors and stuff like that, where I'm not sponsored by anybody, maybe in the future, but really there's really nothing to it. I know a lot of people have asked me like what I started off with. When I was a kid fishing and stuff like that, I started off pretty simple with a closed bail fishing rod, which is just like this. You can get these at Walmart. They're not very expensive. I've seen them as cheap as $10. They can probably go as high as $500–600 just for the reel. Also started off with what we call a open bail, kind of the same beginner. Sorry about the wind. It seems like it's fixing to storm here pretty soon. So another thing we got is this is what they call a bait caster. Now, whenever you get up there and stuff like that, when you start to learn, this takes a lot of practice. Trust me, I've been using them for years, and I'm still learning myself. Even some of the great people you see fishing, they still also backlash and stuff. One of my favorites, of course, being Abu Garcia. They're usually not very expensive, maybe $100–200 for the whole combo itself. Works pretty dang good. Of course, you have your cheaper ones. This one I picked up for about $40 or $50 because it was on sale. It's Matzo. I like that. Then, of course, you go with your bigger and more expensive. This is the Googan Squad. I personally love the Googan Squad line of reels. I haven't tried any of the reels. I'm sorry, the rods, line, baits. Love that stuff. But you don't have to buy that expensive stuff or anything. And their baits aren't that expensive. But I mean, when you want to buy their merchandise or anything like that, it's a little pricey sometimes, but it's not too bad. Tackle boxes, picked them up at Walmart a long time ago. The thing about it is a lot of people think that if you want to use like spinner baits or something like that, that you have to buy like a big bait, bait caster combo. And in theory, not in theory, but normally they do work pretty well. They work a lot better when you have a faster spinning reel, like the bait casters have. They have more ball bearings in their reels and stuff like that, so they reel a lot faster. So it does work a lot better for those. But Liam is just learning, the guy behind the camera, is just learning how this year to lose you as an artificial bait. So I mean, I bought him this little Zebco, I think it's a Zebco slingshot. I picked it up at Walmart for less than $20. And he's used tons of different click baits, spinner baits, stuff like that on there, and he's been pretty successful with that. So it's not necessarily, there are certain baits like top waters and stuff that you need to have a specific line that would work a lot better for it, and a certain speed reel. So to reel that in order to make sure it stays on top, for it to be effective in catching fish. But most of your regular little baits, click baits, chatter baits, not necessarily chatter baits, but click baits, lipless crankbaits is what they're otherwise known. Then I've also seen people use those kind of reels and stuff like that, the cheaper reels and stuff like that for smaller like diving baits and stuff like that. They're also like square bills. They're kind of like a lipless crankbait, but they also dive down about 2 to 5 feet, and sometimes they even go even deeper. But you can use worms and stuff like it. You can Texas rig a worm on these things, and they can work just as good as these. Now, I mean, of course, with these fiberglass pulls and stuff like that, you're going to feel the bite whenever it happens more often. So, I mean, it may be hit or miss the ratio on the cheaper pulls, maybe a little bit less. But if you're strapped for cash and you want to go fishing, which I love fishing, love the outdoors, love to go hunting, which you'll see later on this year, that's where you can start. And it doesn't take a whole bunch of money to get started, do good outdoors and do stuff. It's expensive anyway. expensive this or that, the most expensive rod and reel, the most expensive baits and stuff. I will say I've watched a ton of people and myself also have used a ton of cheaper baits on, you know, on these rods and reels and stuff like that, and still caught as many fish as those big name brand baits do. So I mean, I will say, like I said, Googan Squad, I am not sponsored by them at all. I mean, I watched some of their videos by Lojo and stuff like that, and fishing with Yak Pack. But you know, they live and swear by them, but they've also tried out other baits as well. But I mean, I will search their anytime in the store and stuff like that. I happen to see their baits. I do like looking through their baits and stuff. But there are a couple of their baits that they do have, being the Blazing Worm. I think this is green pumpkin with blue flake. This is a Blazing Worm. There's also the Mondo worms, which I personally love the most. There's also two of the baits that I really love, which I do have some here. Let me grab them right here. There is the Blazing Worm by Googan Squad. It has that really nice tail. It has a really good falling action whenever it's going through the water. It comes in tons of different colors. They have really put a lot of time and thought into their bait. If you get a chance to go check out Lojo, I think it's Lojo Fishing or just Lojo. Then you've got Fishing with Yak Pack, or just the Googan Squad people, Googan Squad group. Sorry, check out theirs, and they put a ton of thought and stuff into their baits. Like I said, this comes in array of colors. I think this one's called, I'm not even gonna guess, but it's got like green and purple and stuff. And I use a Texas rig. You can also swim it a little bit. Other one that I really love through Googan Squad is these little lunker logs. This is the 6-inch lunker log in the blue and black, especially during, apparently here in Oklahoma, during the year. I don't know, I've had more luck with the lunker log than most of the other baits. But then, you know, you get, so these are Yamamoto's, and those are just blue and black, and they have a kind of a cool different little tail on them. But there is a ton of the other little, I guess you'd call it, those are worms. I mean, I guess the other one that I really love from Googan Squad is, I guess, what they call more of a creature bait. And those are, well, this is one of them. This is called a trench hog. These do well as a Texas rig or anything like that. Kind of looks like a crawfish. You can use this Texas rig. You can also use it as a trailer for a clickbait or anything like that. They just brought out lizards. They call them the slizzards. I've gotten some of those, but I haven't gotten to really use them much. The other one that I really like through them is called the Bandito Bug, and I'm looking for it right quick. Let's see if I can find it right quick. It's in here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. This is called the Bandito Bug. Kind of also, it's a little creature bait. Also kind of looks like a, you can rig it Texas rig. You can also do it as a trailer for any jigs or anything like that. It works really well. Has that kind of action with all the little fins and everything off of it, and looks like a crawfish or creature. I've had more luck on those, and they come in an array of colors. And you know, they say like if the water's kind of muddy, you kind of want flashy and stuff like that. So I mean, I got several different colors that they come in, and you can always pick the ones that are best for your, just try one out for your area, see if it works. But you can rig those up Texas rig just like a worm. You can rig them up on the back of a jig or a spinner bait or anything like that, chatter baits, and they work really well. Then also I've seen some of these little things. These are technically crappie baits, but they seem to work really well for bass as well. And these are like little grubs, you know. You get you a little jig head. Usually if you're going to go for bass, you'll want a bigger jig head. This is more of a crappie rig jig. But they do make them bigger, a little bit bigger. They make 1/4 of an ounce or something like that, or maybe a little bit bigger, some of them maybe up to an ounce. But you know, those grubs like that, bass, especially during sometimes of the year whenever the bite ratio is kind of down, when they're not really hungry, But sometimes when they are really hungry, like when they're spawning and stuff, they'll go after those smaller baits because they think it's probably an easier target. They usually move a little bit slower than your creature baits, especially if you throw those. I know that whenever I started teaching Liam how to use artificial baits, that's what I have him on, with that little Zebco, and he was catching crappie, and he caught a carp, he's caught bass. It's just kind of different, you know. It just depends on what they're really going for. Sometimes the bait presentation, it could be a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. Usually they say the bigger the bait, the bigger the fish. Not always true. I caught my biggest fish, which is 6.5 pounds, on that Mondo worm. Yeah, the Mondo worm. And I mean, it was, it was the blazing worm, And that is a really thin profile. I mean, it is long, but it's not like overly huge. It's really thin, but it has a really good action when it falls through, and I caught a 6.5 pounder. Caught lots of fish on that specific bait. But I just wanted to kind of give you an intro to fishing, you know, saying that, you know, you don't have to buy the most expensive rod and reel to go out and have fun. You know, spend $20 here, $20 there, and 9 times out of 10, you go to Walmart, Academy, Dick's Sporting Goods, Bass Pro, anything like that, and pick up some of their cheaper baits, and they're going to work just as good as the name brand. 9 times out of 10, they will. It's kind of all about presentation on the, but just to get into fishing, you don't have to have a whole crap load of money. You know, you can go out and have fun. I do not own a big boat or anything like that currently, so I mean, I mostly do most of my fishing from the bank, as you can see behind me. We got the lake and everything. We kind of walk down into the water so we can cast a little bit further. Yes, it does during the summer, especially this summer in Oklahoma. It has been ungodly hot. So, I mean, the bass are deeper right now. So, I mean, in order to cast out that far, you know, you got to kind of wade into the water a little bit. But hopefully, we're going to catch some big bass today. Hopefully, we'll catch some fish in the future. Let me know if you guys kind of like this. Let me know if you like this content. Like and subscribe.